We classify a mass shooting as a single incident in which 4 or more people are shot. Many of these incidents weren't widely covered, so the amount of information we can report will vary broadly. In the first 3 episodes, we have covered 15 mass shootings, which resulted in 69 injured people and 17 fatalities. The first mass shooting of this episode is the 16th mass shooting of 2020, which happened on Friday, the 24th of January. We are in North Carolina, also known as the Tar Heel State, more specifically Vanceboro, which has a population of just over 1,000. Around 2 p.m., deputies responded to a 911 call from a family member requesting a welfare check. The caller said, "I'm at my son's house. I've been trying to reach them. None of them are answering. The car's in the driveway. Something's wrong, and I need somebody out here to do a wellness check." On arriving at the home on 107 Kinshaw Court, they found that the doors were locked and there was no sign of forced entry. However, they broke into the home after peering in through a window with a partially open curtain and spotting a body. Sheriff Chip Hughes said that the scene his deputies witnessed was one of the most horrific crime scenes in their career. On entering the home, deputies discovered the bodies of Michael Ireland, his wife April, their 3 children, Michael Jason, aged 4, Bryson Griffin, 3, and Caroline Nicole, just 8 months, as well as the family dog. April and her daughter, Caroline Nicole, were found dead on the couch in the living room. The bodies of Michael Jason and Bryson Griffin were found in the same room on a different couch. The body of Michael J. Ireland and the family dog were found in the master bedroom. There was a gun beside the bodies. On investigating the heart-wrenching scene, officers saw no signs of a struggle in the home. Each person had died from a single gunshot wound. Only Michael J. Ireland's wound was self-inflicted. Sheriff Chip Hughes said the evidence inside the house indicates that Michael Ireland killed his family, then killed himself. He said, "To my knowledge, Craven County has not experienced such a senseless crime in modern times. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the families that were involved. It's just a very sad time." He said that the scene had disturbed both the community and the investigators who worked the case. Neighbors had reported hearing piercing screams from the home. April Ireland's mother, Jackie Tripp, said she knew that something wasn't right when she woke up on the morning of the incident, but she was not prepared for tragedy when deputies arrived at her door that afternoon. The deputies said, "Are you the mother of April Tripp?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "I hate to tell you this, but your daughter is deceased." I started crying. I said, "What about the babies?" And he said they were deceased too. I just lost it. I couldn't say anything. All I could do was cry. Jackie explained that the family often struggled with finances, but her daughter made sure the children were clothed and fed. even if it meant selling the clothes off her own back. She did. She would spend every last dollar on those kids and never spend anything on herself. Jackie describes Bryson and Michael as rambunctious toddlers who loved their mother and each other more than anything. Comforted by her memories, she is devastated that 4 of the most precious people in her life are gone. They were just too young to be killed. They shouldn't be gone. That was my youngest daughter. The only time she ever saw April without her children in her lap was when she was driving, so that is how she wants to remember her. My daughter was a brave, intelligent, beautiful person. She loved her kids with everything she had. That's how I want her to be remembered. Neighborhood parents say they are struggling to tell their children the devastating news, and that the neighborhood feels different since they learned of the incident. Neighbor Carrie Truick said, "Very eerie quiet. You can't explain it any other way. It's just an eerie quiet. You tell everyone that's in your life that you love them. Hold them a little closer." People in the community placed stuffed animals, flowers, cards, and books in the front yard of the Ireland house. According to incident reports, deputies had been called to the family's home 6 times between 2015 and 2017. Michael Ireland had been arrested in January 2015 for assault on a female and willful and wanton injury to personal property. In November of that year, a 911 caller told officials it looked like Ireland had locked his wife out of the house, and the couple were yelling at each other. Deputies were also called to the home in January 2016 concerning assault on a female, simple assault, and communicating a threat. Michael Ireland, who sometimes went by his middle name, Jay, was preparing to bury his stepfather, who died following a battle with cancer the previous week. Michael had previously suffered from mental illness and drug addiction. The previous year, he had been battling with severe depression, which led him to a serious self-harming incident, and subsequently spending weeks comatose in the hospital. During that time, April posted on Facebook stating that Michael was in the hospital, quote, "Self-inflicted, he is very sick mentally." At 2 p.m. on Friday, January 31st, at Spring Garden Baptist Church, a funeral service was held to celebrate the lives of April, Jason, Bryson, and Caroline. Kayloni Dixon, a family friend, paying her respects, said, "It's just really tragic. I can't say any words. Speechless. They were like a really loving family. She would come outside and play with them on the swing sets. I think one time she told us they were playing hide and seek in the house, and she said it was the best time." Heather Morris, also a family friend, said, "I've known her for about 4 years, and we both go to the doctor together, and we meet in New Bern every morning, and we would go to the McDonald's right down the road here, and we would always get frappes, and she always had the babies with her, always had them." The full obituary read, "April was a loving and devoted mother who spent every moment possible with her children. She graduated in 2011 from Pamlico County High School, and she attended the cosmetology program at Craven Community College. Jason was a preschooler at Vanceboro Farm Life Elementary and was a loving, tender-hearted, and very intelligent little boy. He loved his brother and sister with all his heart. Bryson was a smart and precocious ball of energy who was Jason's little shadow and slept next to him every night. Caroline was the smiling, always happy little girl that completed their family. They were laid to rest together at Sand Hill Cemetery in Reelsboro. For mass shooting number 17, which happened on Sunday, January 26th, we will be staying in the Tar Steel State, North Carolina. We're going to head over to Salisbury, which has a population of just over 35,500. At around midnight at Thelma's Down Home Cooking Restaurant, located inside the West End Plaza at 1936 Jake Alexander Boulevard, gunfire erupted. The event had been promoted on social media as a birthday party. Several hundred people were in attendance. Police were already located outside the venue as they had been called there earlier on in the night for a disturbance. They had also been notified by an off-duty officer working as security. Immediately after the shots rang out, chaos ensued as partygoers tried to escape the building. Windows were broken and doors were knocked down as a stampede of people exited the restaurant. Officers assisted with crowd control and rendered first aid to the injured. Ryan Williams, 21, Juwan Vanderberg, 22, Dariel Giorn Bethune Jr., 22, Devin Norman, 19, Jordan Treyon Derisaw, 21, and Devonite Bailey, 23, were all shot. Ryan was a quarterback for the Livingston College football team. Juwan and Dariel were his teammates, a junior linebacker and senior running back. Devin was also a student at the same college. One of the injured people was airlifted to Wake Forest Baptist Hospital. The others were taken to Rowan Regional Medical Center. Ryan had been shot in the chest and was paralyzed. Thankfully, though, he and the other 5 victims survived the shooting. Livingston College released a statement shortly after the incident saying, "Livingston College is grateful that no lives were lost and is praying for the full recovery of those injured and the well-being of those who experienced this unfortunate event." Samarian Smith, a local DJ, described the chaotic scene that took place during his set when gunfire broke out. "Once it happened, one shot let off. I cut off the music and dropped down to shield myself for my life. I just heard maybe 2 or 3, that's all." He fled the crowd, abandoning his equipment and cell phone. Keith Hernandez, who was at the party, said, "Next thing you know, you hear a lot of gunshots go off. Everybody just running out the door. Everything's thrown everywhere. A lot of glass broke." Police said they had warned the owner earlier on in the evening that something might happen, but the owner did not heed the warning and continued the party. The warning was given due to an alcohol law enforcement agent spotting some of the partygoers displaying gang signs and people trying to sneak alcohol inside using water bottles. The building, owned by the county and officials, was being used in breach of the lease agreement, as it was only allowed to be used for a restaurant and for no other purpose without prior written permission. Local business owners said that the venue regularly stayed open past its 9 p.m. closing time, and on the night of the shooting, the party didn't even start until way past this. They also said that the crowd on this particular night was much younger than they had observed at other events. County Manager Aaron Church said, This incident is wholly unacceptable, and we are in the process of terminating the lease with Thelma's Home Cooking today. We're going to have to make some tough decisions on how we're going to move forward, keep our citizens safe, and do the right thing. This particular event was a fundraiser with a DJ, and you would think that wouldn't be a recipe for disaster, but it turned out to be. No suspects were arrested in connection to this shooting. The 18th mass shooting of 2020 was the second mass shooting to occur on Sunday, January 26th. It was also the second mass shooting to take place in the Empire State, or New York, in 2020. We go to Newburgh, a city in Orange County, 70 miles north of New York City, with a population of just under 29,000. At around 8 p.m., responding to a 911 call about shots fired, officers arrived in the quiet suburban neighborhood in Chadwick Lake Park. On entering the home located at 1571 Route 300, they discovered the bodies of Jimmy Chrysantos, 27, Shatavia Chrysantos, 26, and Shatavia's son from a previous relationship, Giovanni Tambito, age 9. Their 3-year-old son, Ioanni Chrysantos, was shot 5 times but was still alive. He was taken to Westchester Medical Center in Valhalla, where he would receive life-saving treatment and survive. Their 5-year-old son, Giuliani Chrysantos, was discovered unharmed. He had witnessed his whole family being killed, but was not discovered by the shooter. In the hours after the shooting, Police Lieutenant James Nenny said, "The investigation is, as you can tell, extremely active. We're working in conjunction with the state police and the Orange County DA's office. The Hudson Valley Safe Streets Task Force was also involved in the investigation." Newburgh Town Supervisor Gil Piaquadio said that the shooter wanted to be at that house, and it was not just a pick a house at random. A person of interest known to the victims was taken into custody and interviewed by police. The day after the shooting, Khalik Goodford, 30, who lived in Newburgh, was charged with triple homicide. A relationship between Goodford and the victims was confirmed. He was arraigned on 3 counts of murder in the second degree, 1 count of attempted murder in the second degree, and 1 count of criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, as well as additional lesser charges. The next day, Goodford was sentenced to 7 years in prison in connection with an earlier unrelated crime. For the shooting, Goodford was indicted on 3 counts of first-degree murder, gun possession, and evidence tampering for disposing of the pistol and magazine that were used in the shooting into the Hudson River. Judge William DeProspo was in charge of the proceedings. Assistant District Attorney Richard Moran told DeProspo that Goodford entered the family's home early on the morning of January 26th, armed with a handgun fully loaded with a 30-round magazine, shooting Jimmy 8 times and Shatavia 5 times, killing them. Moran then said that Goodford went farther into the home, hunting for witnesses, and what he found was the 3 children of Jimmy and Shatavia Chrysantos. The defendant assassinated a 9-year-old boy, shot him 5 times. A sob came from someone in the gallery, which prompted DeProspo to warn the audience against any outbursts. Moran continued saying, Moments later, the defendant shot a 3-year-old child 5 times. Only by way of a miracle and acts of heroism, frankly, by a neighbor who was able to find and get the child to safety, and first responders, did that child survive. He told DeProspo how Giuliani watched Goodford massacre his whole family and asked for him to be held without bail. Goodford's lawyer, Randy Seiper, entered a not guilty plea for his client. Seiper said he wouldn't ask for bail to be set because of the prison sentence he had received for the previous case. Goodford was being held in the Fishkill Correctional Facility. District Attorney David Hoofler said, "Obviously, the intentional shooting of a mother, father, and 2 young children inside their home is among the most heinous atrocities imaginable." Goodford faces a sentence of life in state prison without the possibility of parole. He has not yet had a trial date set. On Friday, February 7th, at the Crossroads Assembly of God Church, around 300 family members and friends gathered to remember the lives of Jimmy, Shatavia, and Giovanni. The 3 caskets sat open at the front of the auditorium, 3 large bouquets of red and white roses beside them, along with a set of shiny pink and white heart-shaped balloons. As the caskets were shut, the funeral service began. Quiet mourning could be heard throughout the room. The heartbreak that could be seen and heard showed how deeply the shooting affected the family and the community. Pastor Manny Montalvo said, "Today we grieve with you. We are a family together." Reverend Gilberto Angel Neri officiated the service. "There are no answers to this tragedy. You can scream and ask God why. Why them?" Speaking of Shatavia, he said, "As the family would tell me, she was so loving. She was a great mother. She was a great wife. She had many goals. She had a future. She fought for her family to give them a better future." Shatavia's aunt asked the community to help care for Ioanni and Giuliani. "Even with the pain you feel as a family, the boys bring us joy. They bring us happiness. And as a community, we all have to participate in making these boys grow up and that they're okay, and that things happen that their parents wanted for them as they get older." The family were buried together at the Calvary Cemetery in New Windsor. Mass Shooting 19 is the 3rd mass shooting to occur on Sunday, the 26th of January, and it takes us to South Carolina, otherwise known as the Palmetto State, for the first time. The incident took place in Hartsville, which has a population of just under 7,800. Shortly before 2 a.m., police were outside a very crowded Max Lounge, located at 115 West Camden Avenue, after responding to an incident. While dealing with this incident, they heard shots ring out inside the venue and people fleeing to escape. One of the people told the police that someone had been shot. Another told police the name of the gunman, which was Anthony Peck. One of the officers knew what kind of car Peck was driving and where it was parked, so he went there and caught Peck trying to leave with a 9mm gun in his pocket and proceeded to arrest Peck. On investigating the scene, Hartsville Police Department discovered the bodies of DiCaprio Collins, 21, and Brian Robinson, 29. One of them had been found outside on the patio of the bar. The other was found inside. Garrett Baksh, 18, a college student at Coker University, was found along with 2 other adult men and 1 adult woman, all with gunshot wounds. They were treated on scene and transported to McLeod-Darlington Medical Center and Carolina Pines Regional Medical Center. Unfortunately, Garrett would succumb to his injuries 3 days after the shooting. The other 3 injured people survived. People in Mac's Lounge described their experience of how the shooting occurred. Samuel Dupree, who was dancing on stage when he heard the gunfire, said, "It sounded like a firecracker and people freaked out. So I was like, okay." I look to my right and I see gunfire coming out of the gun, and it's by the pool table by the patio door. And I saw shots being fired, so I was like, this is real now. People were trying to get through that tiny door and they couldn't. I helped someone up off the ground I saw get trampled. I'm not gonna let this person just die from getting run over. It's totally surreal. I didn't know I had blood on my shoes until I took my shoes off and they were covered in blood. Samuel then says how he and others spilled out into a nearby parking lot, seeing wallets and cell phones scattered across the ground. He and his friends ran down the street to a nearby business when they saw blue flashing lights heading their way. Parker Hayes was sitting at the bar when he heard the shots. He said at first he wasn't sure if what he was hearing was the music or something else. When he realized it was gunfire, he hid under the bar. "If I start running, I'm still open. If I sit under the wood, it's kind of hard to get shot." Parker said that shortly before the shooting started, he saw some kind of commotion by the bar's back door that led to the patio. There was a fight around the back door, and that might have escalated it, but it didn't seem random. Hartsville police led the investigation into the shooting, assisted by SLED and the U.S. Marshal's Office. Springfield Police Deputy Chief Clay Dowis, who oversees the department's investigations division, said, "We're not really sure what precipitated the shooting, but it actually happened inside the bar. It was very crowded, so officers were busy keeping the peace and securing the scene." He went on to say that the investigation is continuing. Many witnesses fled before police could speak with them, so detectives are asking that anyone who was at the bar when the shooting happened to contact the police. As the investigation moved along, 4 other suspects were arrested in connection to the shooting. Davion Khalil McCall, 24, Darius Grant Dickey, 20, Antonio Varel Mills, age unknown, and Zachary Austin Cole, age also unknown, alongside Anthony Peck, 38, would bring the total people arrested to 5. In the days after the shooting, friends and family members remembered their loved ones who were lost in the tragedy. William Robinson Jr., Brian Robinson's older brother, said, "He's dead. He's not coming back. He was my baby brother. He wasn't a guy to ever bother anyone. He was taught not to start trouble, not to even look for trouble. With that being said, we've got to push through this. It's ridiculous. I'm sick of it. I'm done with it. I think we just need to come to the table. We've talked about this again and again. Never in a million years would I think that this would be my family's turn. Stop the violence, man. Stop it. Put the guns down. Put the metal down. Talk, man. Learn to talk it out." He also said that Brian had lived in Hartsville his entire life, and the loss hits close to home for so many people in this community, and that gun violence has to end. Brian's cousin, Wanda Govan, said, "It's a lot of emotion because there will be countless family gatherings, and those gatherings won't ever be the same because he's not there with us. I pray for everybody. My heart is so hurt for everyone affected. Our lives are forever changed because of the violence, and it just needs to simply stop. Brian's family remembers him as an easygoing jokester who was never far away if anyone ever needed a helping hand. He was also known as the Dog Whisperer because of his love for his 3 dogs, Diamond, Envy, and Obama. Lieutenant Mandy Biter, a spokeswoman for Garrett's family, gave details about the night Garrett was killed and how the entire Coker community is mourning. Garrett, whose parents are both police officers who work beside Biter at the Baltimore Police Department, said Garrett was out celebrating a friend's birthday when he was shot. One minute he was dancing with his friends, and the next, gunfire broke out from across the bar between 2 people. He was an innocent bystander, and senseless violence from 2 people totally unrelated to him and his friends came in, and ultimately, he was one of the victims of this senseless tragedy. She said Garrett's family is close-knit, and this has been extremely difficult for them. This is your child, and you want to keep them safe and protect them. And when something like this happens, you are looking for answers as to why. Garrett was a freshman at Coker University, studying criminal justice, and had a dream to be a U.S. Marshal. Biter also said, hundreds of students were at the hospital in the days Garrett was there. They say he came into the men's lacrosse team this year and was like the glue that held everyone together. And they were all suffering. They were all hurting. Coker University officials released a statement. We are deeply saddened by the passing of our student, Garrett Baksh. Garrett was a freshman, a member of our men's lacrosse team, and a friend to many in our Coker community. The entire Coker campus community joins together in expressing our sympathy to Garrett's family, and our hearts go out to all impacted by this sad news. Darius Grant Dickey was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole for the murder of Garrett Baksh. He was also given 20 years each for 2 counts of assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature, and 1 year for unlawful carrying of a pistol. Davion Khalil Mikal was sentenced to 36 years for involuntary manslaughter and 15 years for assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature. The sentences were to run concurrently. Antonio Varel Mills was charged with criminal conspiracy for his role in the shooting, along with pointing and presenting a firearm, unlawful carrying of a handgun, and carrying a firearm onto premises where alcohol is sold. We have no further information on the outcome of his charges. Zachary Austin Cole was charged with unlawful carrying of a firearm, pointing and presenting a firearm, carrying a firearm onto premises where alcohol is sold, discharging a firearm into a structure or enclosure, and violent felon in possession of a firearm. As with Antonio Varel Mills, we have found no more information on the outcome of the charges. Anthony Peck was acquitted of being an armed habitual criminal. He remained charged with aggravated battery with a firearm in connection to the shooting. In 1997, Peck was convicted of attempted murder and was sentenced to 24 years in prison, later reduced to 19 years. He was on parole for that shooting when the Max Lounge shooting occurred. He was also convicted in 1992 for unlawful use of a firearm by a felon, and had previously been convicted of felony robbery and aggravated battery. We could find no more information on the outcome of Peck's remaining charges in relation to the Max Lounge shooting.